KL Publications presents A Glitch in the Matrix by Ryan C. Sanders. In a world where ambition drives individuals to reach for success, Devan Spicer, a middle-aged man working in government positions, had always believed in the merit of hard work. For years, he dedicated himself to climbing the bureaucratic ladder, hoping that his efforts would eventually be rewarded with higher status, wealth, and power. He saw colleagues rise above him, making strategic moves and forming alliances, while he toiled away without recognition. One day, disillusioned with the lack of progress in his career, Devance found himself questioning the system he had put so much faith in. It wasn't that he wasn't qualified. He had worked harder than most, but something was always holding him back, an invisible wall that kept him from breaking through to the upper echelons of power. His frustrations boiled over after a particularly disappointing meeting, where once again his ideas were dismissed by higher-ups. He left the office, walking aimlessly through the city, pondering what more could he do. As if by fate, Devance encountered an old man sitting on a park bench, feeding the birds. The man seemed unremarkable at first, but there was something in his eyes, a knowing, a wisdom, that caught Devance's attention. "Looks like you've had a tough day," the old man said, breaking the silence. "You're fighting a battle you can't win." Taken aback by the stranger's insight, Devance sat down beside him, eager to hear more. "What do you mean? I've worked hard for years, but it feels like there's something I'm not seeing." The old man smiled faintly. "You're not seeing the whole picture because the game is rigged. The system you're in isn't about merit or hard work, it's about control. And those who control it aren't the people you think." Over the next few hours, the man who introduced himself as Galen shared with Devance what he called the 411 on who's really in control. Galen explained that powerful elites, families, and secret societies operated behind the scenes, pulling the strings of governments, corporations, and even religious institutions. Their goal wasn't just wealth, but total control over how society functioned. They controlled information, finances, and belief systems to keep people like Devance in a perpetual state of dependency. They manipulate the money you earn, the laws you follow, and even the beliefs you hold, Galen said. "Look at the central banks. You think the government controls them? No. They're privately owned, designed to create debt and keep nations in their grasp. It's all a part of the matrix." As they spoke, Devance began to see that the political system he worked within was not designed to elevate people like him. It was designed to maintain the status quo, to ensure that power remained in the hands of the few. He thought about his job, the endless meetings, the empty promises of advancement. Everything was starting to make sense. "But how do I break free?" Devance asked, feeling both enlightened and overwhelmed. Galen looked at him with a seriousness that hadn't been there before. "The first step is knowledge. You have to understand how the system works, and once you see it, you'll know where to look for the cracks. They control with deception, using words and beliefs to keep you trapped. But words have power, and once you know their true meaning, you can use them to your advantage." Galen went on to explain how language itself was a tool of manipulation. Words like freedom, democracy, and justice were often used to pacify the masses, making people believe they had control when, in reality, the rules were set by those in power. He spoke of how media and education systems were crafted to distract and mislead, teaching people what to think rather than how to think. "The media's job is to keep you entertained, not informed," Galen said. "They feed you stories that make you feel like you're part of the process when you're really just a pawn." Devance felt a deep sense of betrayal, but also a spark of hope. Galen was showing him a way out. "So if they use words to control us, how do I take that power back?" "You start by questioning everything," Galen replied. "Words like wealth and success, what do they really mean to you? You've been conditioned to chase after things that don't truly matter, things that keep you tied to the system. If you want real power, you have to redefine those words for yourself. You have to find meaning outside of what they've told you. Devan spent the next several days thinking about his conversation with Galen. He started reading books that challenged his understanding of history, economics, and power. Books like Matrix of Power by Jordan Maxwell, which exposes how secret societies and elites have been controlling global systems for centuries. He learned about the symbolism used by these groups, how they hid their control in plain sight through corporate logos, currency designs, and even religious symbols. The more Devan learned, the more he saw how deep the manipulation ran. He realized that the key to escaping the system wasn't just knowledge, but acceptance. He had to accept that the world was not what it seemed. And only by understanding this truth could he begin to navigate in his own terms. In time, Devan changed his approach at work. Instead of playing by the established rules, he started building his own network, not with the aim of power or power's sake, but to create meaningful connections with those who also saw through the illusions. He found that once he stopped trying to climb the corporate ladder in the traditional way, opportunities began to open up in unexpected places. Galen's final piece of advice echoed in his mind. When we know better, we tend to do better. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe.